Hello, we're Team 7, and our topic is Big Data. Here are our content. First, we're going to talk about what is Big Data and why did Big Data emerge. Next, we'll talk about examples of using Big Data, impact of Big Data on consumer, and failed case of Big Data. Lastly, we will predict the future of Big Data. So now, let's talk about what is Big Data. Big data literally means massive amount of data. In 1 minute, Google generates 2 million searches, YouTube generates 72 hours of video, and Twitter generates 270,000 tweets. In addition, numerous data are generated from various internet services and SNS. When the amount of data increases, data is analyzed and information is extracted. The technology that actively responds or predicts data changes with the extracted information is called big data. Next, I will talk about why big data emerged and why it gained great response. Actually, the concept of big data has existed for a long time, but people didn't know about it. However, in recent years, almost every company started to use big data, and the importance of big data is increasing year by year. So, why did this happen? As I mentioned earlier, numerous data is being generated from various SNS and internet services as technologies such as smartphone and computer develop. And the total amount of data generated during the year is rapidly increasing every year. In fact, according to IDC research, by 2025, the total amount of data generated in a year will reach 163 zettabytes. And it is about 4 times bigger than the current amount. Since data contains information about what customers want and how they use it, many companies started to use this data to identify customers and provide products that fit to them. Besides, by using big data, companies can save cost and time, understand the market conditions, and boost customer acquisition and retention. Because of those advantages of using big data, it gained great response.
Next, I'll present Chapter 3. Big data is used in various industries, and I'll give you 3 examples with logistics distribution and healthcare and IoT. First is logistics and distribution. Currently, the logistics industry is evolving smartly due to big data. In detail, the goods are received by delivery company, moved to the distribution center, and shipped across multiple routes. Information such as who delivers to whom, weight, barcode or QR code recorded in each progress, and GPS tracked path will continue to accumulate as data. Amazon's forecast delivery system, UP's on-road integrated optimization and navigation, and Zara's optimal inventory distribution system are 3 well-known companies using big data on logistics. The second is the healthcare market. Big data is leading the innovation of medical services. The emergence of various smart medical devices combined with machine learning makes chronic disease management and disease prevention possible. For example, EHR, that means electronic health record, helps medical staff to observe patients' health status real time. Patients' medical and health information collected through smart sensors are analyzed and processed in various forms. After that, big data is stored in a personal medical information DB and transmitted to the medical staff. IBM and Google are the 2 well-known companies for using big data on healthcare industry. IBM developed IBM Watson. It diagnosed a specific cancer in a few minutes with an accuracy of 96%, but this can make 160 hours for human doctors. And Google Trends has the capability of tracking large amounts of medical information using a big data analysis technique. People are shocked when it provided medical information ahead of US health authorities. The last example that I'm going to talk about is IoT. IoT is a technology that enables sensor-attached objects to communicate with the internet. It allows internet-connected objects to exchange data, analyze each other, and provide users with learned information and remotely control this information. In other words, the relationship between IoT and big data is bound to become closer as technology advances. This is because it's important to analyze and store essential information from the mass amount of data coming from various devices. An example is Komatsu's excavator and bulldozer. They're equipped with sensors that are related to each other, so error reports can be sent to the central management center. Another example is Apple's HomeKit, SK Telecom, and LG Smart ThinQ, and Samsung. They are devices that allows each other to remotely control their home appliances such as refrigerators, vacuum cleaners, door locks, gas control, and air conditioners at home.
On the three topics mentioned above, I will talk about the impact that consumers will receive through big data. First, it is about logistics. It is price optimization that consumers are affected by logistics through big data. Previously, there was a problem in that inventory was accumulated a lot and management costs were high. However, using big data, consumers can predict purchases that change in real time. Though these products that are likely to accumulate inventory can be provided to consumers at the optimal price, conducting promotion and quickly exhausting them. Furthermore, through the analysis of purchasing pattern, customized products are recommended to consumers to consume. That will lead to easier purchasing for customers. The biggest impact on distribution is to read consumers' purchase patterns through big data so that they can receive goods quickly. This is only possible with big data because it is important to understand consumers' purchasing patterns, but it is impossible without an optimal delivery system. Therefore, consumers receive delivery at dawn in the best condition from companies such as Market Kurly in Korea. Next is the contents of healthcare. It provides customized service using big data technology for medical data such as individual disease and medical records of patients accumulated so far. It is also predicting the spread of the flu faster. At this time, the most affected point for consumers is that we'll no longer go to the hospital frequently. It is that unnecessary hospital visits are reduced and medical treatment is possible at home. As telemedicine tools prediction and data become possible, consumers can save time and money. Finally, it is the Internet of Things called IoT. Big data, those billions of real-time data collected from IoT devices is actually too much. Many companies optimize their process through this, and among them, finance is the influence that consumers can sympathize with the most. Similar concept can be appealed to financial life. Those various devices such as smartphone and AI speaker, negative factors such as delinquency, non-payment, and commission accuracy can be detected in advance. Deposit loan product suitable for individuals to start a health financial life, and consult asset management remotely whenever necessary. In conclusion, low interest and high deposit rate can be received from exciting credit rating.
Many brands try to use big data for many purposes, but not all brands produce successful results using big data. In 2008, Google began providing flu epidemic prediction services called Google Flu Trend by analyzing their search history data. Google's intention was to accumulate this data to prevent the spread of the flu. and the fact that many people search Google for their symptoms and treatments when they catch cold before going to the hospital made it possible. However, unlike Google's expectations, the regularity and association extracted from big data didn't have much relationship with the flu epidemic itself that Google intended to predict. For instance, in 2009, it missed the global epidemic of new influenza, and in 2013, it predicted twice as many infections as the actual flu rate. After that, Google Flu Trend was shut down. The next case is Watson from IBM. Watson is a cancer diagnosis artificial intelligence program which was designed to learn and analyze numerous specialized data and data related to clinical cases, and then suggest appropriate treatments for patients. However, Watson's limitation was drawn because Watson was specifically produced in line with the limited environment of a quiz show. Also, cancer data was much more complex than IBM researchers expected, and contaminated data such as misdiagnosis also lowered Watson's accuracy. So basically, Watson's performance was exaggerated even when the limitations of the technology was clear. So from the case of Google Flu Trend and Watson, it is clear that not all brands are successful in using big data.
Nowadays, big data is commonly used, but its potential can be dramatically improved and enhanced. There are some changes and improvements that need to be applied to this technology for it to be used generally and get accepted by the population. To begin with, the information will have to be easily deposited, and the storage devices need to be cheap and don't take too much space. Also, the supercomputers used now need to be much smaller, as the space available can often be limited. Currently, there are storage online services like the cloud, for example. Also, in order not to saturate the system, there needs to be a way of deleting useless information to make up space for new data. For devices to interact with each other, there has to be a unified format for information search, as well as making it easier for different countries and cultures to collaborate using this technology. One of the most important factors that need to be assessed is the accuracy and veracity of the information, meaning credible sources and highly contrasted information so that it can be used to its full capacity. The software for this technology is very expensive at the moment and barely accessible in large quantities, so there has to be a drop in prices so that it can be used by more companies and institutions. The visualization of data needs to be easily interpreted as well as user-friendly and easily accessible and understandable, and this can be very difficult as the amount of information is immense. By using graphs, maps, videos, or images, the information can be easily visualized. Big data needs to overcome the existing barrier of poor legislation and law endorsement they use for it, as the amount of information used can fail to respect legal rights. Furthermore, it needs to be secure against hacking and stealing, as well as respect the privacy and anonymity of the population while it gathers the data. The workers in the future will have to learn new skills to both understand the machine and efficiently use the data it provides. Artificial intelligence will also have to adopt and improve the sharing of data between devices for them to work simultaneously and generate another source of information. Society as a whole needs to accept and trust this technology, meaning they have to understand its usefulness and provide a positive attitude towards big data. This barrier would generate controversy amongst the population, as we're skeptical towards new technology. Finally, big data needs to be sustainable and efficient because it can consume high amounts of power, electricity, and produce a lot of heat. This is harmful for the environment, so in addition to new software, hardware also needs to be upgraded to counter these effects. In this graph, you can clearly see the scale at which the market for big data is increasing and a prediction for the upcoming years. This other graph shows a forecast in the healthcare industry for 2025, being this amount more than 5 times bigger than in 2016.
In conclusion, people might think that big data is a difficult concept, but in fact, we learned that big data is very much encountered in our daily life, and we predict that big data will continue to play a huge role in many industries. However, the use of big data is not always successful, so we made a suggestion for a marketer who used big data. Do not simply collect data, but try to understand the consumer behavior by using data. and analyze the data to analyze new factor, predict the future, and discover new business item or service. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.